Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a simple, but honestly, a really powerful rule for building wealth. This is a system that comes straight from a self-made multimillionaire, and we're going to break it all down. So, what do the wealthiest people in the world actually do to get there? Well, this chart lays it out pretty clearly. You see entrepreneurs, investors, heirs, but notice who's missing. Yeah, people who only earn a salary. The key isn't just about how much they make, it's about the one big thing they all have in common. And that, right there, is the secret sauce: ownership. It's that simple. Entrepreneurs own businesses, investors own assets, celebrities own their brand. It really all boils down to that quote: if you don't own something, you're the one being owned. That shift in mindset, that's everything. Now, the source material argues that for most of us, the system is kind of built to keep us running on a hamster wheel. You know the drill. You get paid, you pay your bills, and boom, you're broke again, right on time for the next paycheck. You get your food, your shelter, all the basics, but with this illusion of freedom, you're trapped in a cycle that just makes you work harder and harder to stay in the same place. But there is a way to break out. This framework, the 25-15-50-10 rule, is designed to help anyone, no matter what your income is, start shifting your mindset from being an employee to becoming an owner. It's not about how much you earn, it's about what you do with what you earn. So let's get into it. The first, and you could say the most important piece of this puzzle, is setting aside a full 25% of your income purely for growth. This is the part of your money that starts working for you. And look, when we say growth, we're not talking about meditation or self-help books, as great as those are. We're talking about real tangible assets, things that actually go up in value. So while you're at your 9 to 5, this money is busy in the background building a second income stream that could one day be bigger than your first. You might be thinking, I don't have enough to get started. But listen, time is your secret weapon here. Let me tell you a quick story about two investors, Billy and Phil. Billy starts young, at age 20, just putting in $200 a month. Phil waits till he's 30, but he invests more, $300 a month, trying to play catch up. Okay, let's fast forward to age 60. Phil, who put in more of his own cash, $108,000 over 30 years, he ends up with a really respectable $678,000. Not bad, right? That's a solid nest egg. But here's the kicker. This is the crazy part. Billy, who invested $12,000 less of his own money, ends up with over $1.2 million. That's nearly double what Phil has, all because he had 10 extra years for his money to grow. That right there is the incredible, almost magical power of compound growth. Now, this slide is really interesting because it maps out your options. Think of it like a ladder. You start on the bottom rung with a solid, safe foundation, like index funds, where you're basically buying a tiny piece of the whole market. Then, as you get more comfortable, you can start climbing higher into things like high-income skills, maybe an online business, and even the riskier stuff at the top. The key is you've got to start at the bottom and build a solid base first. All right, let's move on to the next part of the rule. This is how you build your defense. The next 15% of your income is for one thing: stability. This is the money that keeps you in the game when things go wrong. Because let's face it, life happens. The guy who came up with this rule tells a story from when he was 18. His car engine literally exploded. He had no savings, so he had to take out loans, which just spiraled into debt and set him back an entire year. A stability fund is your defense against exactly that. It's your margin for error, so one unexpected hospital bill doesn't force you to sell your investments at the worst possible time. So, what's the goal here? The target is a fund that can cover 5 full months of your absolute must-have essential expenses. To figure this out, you just list your core costs: rent, food, utilities, add them up, and multiply that number by 5. That's your stability goal. And there are 3 non-negotiable rules for where you keep this money. 1, it has to be super easy to get to. 2, it can't be at risk in the stock market. And 3, it needs to be earning at least some interest in a high-yield savings account, so it doesn't get slowly eaten away by inflation. All right, on to the biggest slice of the pie. The next 50% of your income is for your essentials. This is the money that fuels you, not your ego. You know, it's kind of shocking, but over 60% of Americans making 6 figures are still living paycheck to paycheck. How is that possible? It's something called lifestyle inflation. As their income goes up, their spending on what they think is essential goes right up with it. They get stuck trying to look rich instead of, actually becoming rich.
The source gives a perfect example from his own life. On the left, you see his friend at age 20. He's got the designer shirt, the fancy watch, but he's also got credit card debt and only $43 to his name. On the right, that's him, looking pretty basic, but with over $1,000 invested and a growing stability fund. See? Wealth isn't what you see on the outside, it's what you don't see.
So, what's truly essential? This is where you have to be brutally honest with yourself. We're talking rent or mortgage, groceries, utilities, getting to work, insurance, and basic clothing. Eating out 3 times a week, having 5 different streaming services, that gym membership you never use. Sorry, those don't make the cut. And finally, we get to the part that makes this entire system actually stick for the long haul. The last 10% of your income is for your rewards. This is your sanity fund. Let's be honest, saving can feel like a total drag. And the research actually shows that after a period of intense saving, something like 92% of people just end up splurging anyway. That's why this 10% isn't an excuse to be frivolous. It's a core part of the strategy. It's like the cheat meal in your financial diet that makes the whole thing sustainable. But you can even be strategic with your rewards. You want to focus your fund spending on things that give you lasting value. Experiences, like travel, those create memories for life. Hobbies fuel your passion. Social outings strengthen your connections. See? These aren't just expenses. They're investments in your own well-being. And here's a super simple system to manage it. You open a separate account. Call it your Joy Pot or whatever you want. Every single payday, you automatically transfer 10% into it. Then you spend from that account completely guilt-free. But here's the rule. Once it's empty, you wait. This protects all your other financial goals while making sure you still enjoy the journey. So let's bring it all together one last time. 25% for growth to build your future, 15% for stability to protect your present, 50% for essentials to cover your actual needs, and 10% for rewards to make it all worthwhile. It's a clear, balanced, and powerful plan for every single dollar you earn. You know, when it comes right down to it, this rule is more than just a budget. It's a fundamental shift in how you think about money. It's about moving from being owned to becoming an owner. And it leaves you with one really crucial question you need to ask yourself.